watching closely.
What's the secret, Max?
You just gotta find something you love to do and then do it for the rest of your life.
I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me.
Hello, and welcome to the Establishing Shot podcast, where we do deep dives into directors and their filmographies. I am your host, Eli Price, and we are here on episode 93 of the podcast. We covered our last Spielberg indie film last week with Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and this week we're taking a short break from that Spielberg series before picking it up again with Adventures of Tintin next week. But I have again joining me Jacob Allen from last week's episode. It's great to have you back, Jacob.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. So as I mentioned last week, we are going to be doing a Harrison Ford performances movie draft. Done a couple of these performances drafts, which are fun. A good little twist on the movie draft, because really you're supposed to, I guess, with these, choose the performance over the movie. So it could be like a bad movie with a really good performance. But I don't know if that gets you like better votes, because most people are just going to see the movie when they vote. But that's the idea, at least. Yeah. But yeah, I guess like we should talk a little bit about Harrison Ford before we jump in. Let me ask you this, Jacob. This is an important question. When you close your eyes and picture Harrison Ford, which character do you picture?
Yeah. Han Solo.
Same.
Sure.
The same. That's what I grew up with. I grew up Star Wars. I didn't grow up with Indy as much. I saw them, but yeah.
Yeah, I did come to Indy young. So
yeah,
I would say that, Indy was baked into my upbringing, but not as early as Star Wars. I have very, very early memories of watching Star Wars.
Yeah. I wrote down a few things, and you can tell me if you have any other ideas of like what is so appealing about Harrison Ford. He's the definition of cool. He's got like incredible amounts of charisma. I think we talked a little bit about this in last week's episode, but he's like the everyman that makes you feel like things, like anything is possible sort of thing. Like
totally.
He's like a bit blundering, but still like makes stuff happen.
Yeah. I think what makes him such an appealing persona is what he really has going for him is he's charming and good looking.
Yeah.
Outside of those qualities, I can think of other personas that have, that are smarter, that are more, charismatic, that are more, athletic, whatever. So it's just like, oh man, if Harrison Ford can do that, like maybe I can do that too, just because you see it in the Indiana Jones character, just exactly like what you said. Like he just kind of figures it out as he goes. It's like, okay, there's hope for us normal people too.
Yeah.
But we'll get into this, I'm sure, as we go through this draft, but some of those traits, the figure it out as I go, like they're woven throughout so many of his characters.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, like he has this way of like just delivering. He can deliver like any dialogue and make it sound good and make it believable that character would be saying that thing, no matter how like ridiculous the dialogue might be.
Yeah.
And I think that is an impressive like acting trait to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think so too. To be able to deliver a line that may or may not be that believable coming from somebody else speaks to his just kind of raw talent.
Yeah.
That maybe has not had as many opportunities to come through because he is known for these, I mean, incredibly iconic quintessential characters.
Yeah. He's sort of a franchise actor. Like he gets locked into franchises. Like even you think of like the Jack Ryan, he did a couple of those.
But he's like the franchise actor to like the highest of the highest caliber though.
Sure.
Like, you know, and I mean, it's been fun to go catch up on some blind spots and to rewatch some movies I needed to rewatch in preparation for this because he's so talented. I mean, he is just so talented, and he may not have had many opportunities to shine just for his just raw acting chops. But those chops come through in a lot of what he does in subtle ways.
Yeah. And I mean, he only has the one Oscar nomination, which was for lead actor in the movie Witness,
right?
Which he did not win for. And actually his counterpart in Tommy Lee Jones won supporting actor for that movie.
Tommy Lee Jones,
or not that for Fugitive, which he did not. My mind is all confused. He did not get nominated for Fugitive. Tommy Lee Jones did and won. His only nomination was for Witness, which he did not win. So a few years apart. I think Witness was, Witness like
was
8 years.
85,
Yeah, 85 to 93, 94, somewhere in there.
Which that speaks to the, he's managed to stay relevant for so long.
Yeah.
And I think that, sure, a lot of that has to do with the lasting power of his two most iconic characters.
Yeah.
They've come out, they've been sprinkled in across the decades, so he gets fresh life every 10 years.
Sure.
But he's I think even outside of the Han Solo and Indiana Jones, he's had roles that have been significant enough to, even now on TV, with Shrinking, he's has that performance of that character has been pretty well regarded. So he's had a long career and has managed to act well. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because, even like he has for a long time, and now he like kind of leans into it more winkingly. He had this like grumpy persona that like he played into. Yeah. I'm sure it's like 50% real, 50% like put on, Sure. And like, even like here recently, he's just like totally leaned into that kind of grumpy man persona much more winkingly now in these like press runs for like Captain America Brave New World. Like it's just fun to watch him interacting with interviewers. Yeah. But yeah, let's jump into the draft. We're going to do 5 picks each. We did set parameters before we started recording that we each can have an Indy and a Han, but we can't take more than one each. So if you don't understand what that means, then that's okay, because me and Jacob understand. So, but Jacob, you're a first-time guest. It's your first movie draft, so you get the first pick. So where are you going?
So I was banking on your courtesy, you being the gracious host and giving me the first pick. In my strategizing, I was like, okay, I think that he's probably going to give me the first pick. I am going with Han Solo's performance, or Harrison Ford's performance in Empire Strikes Back.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just hard for me to imagine not having Han Solo on this list, but I just think he gets so much to do in Empire Strikes Back, and just the moment that he's, Leia's watching him descending into the carbon freezing chamber, and she says, "I love you," and he says, "I know."
It's great.
It's just it's the perfect delivery of that line, and it is everything that we love about Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, it's the confidence, it's the swagger,
Hmm.
it's just even the derpiness to
Yeah.
say, I know,
It's the
so
best
great.
Han. It's the best Han performance.
For sure. And
Uh,
it's the most that he gets to do.
hmm.
He has an entire storyline that is his own.
Yeah.
Um, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, great pick. I can't fault it. This is the debate though, because I'm gonna go ahead and take not my favorite indie movie. Surprisingly, my favorite is Last Crusade.
Okay.
But I'm gonna take Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones. It's just like just the iconic original role. The way the character's introduced, the way he plays it, it's phenomenal. And it's funny because like the debate is like, is Harrison Ford Han Solo or is he Indiana Jones? Like,
Yeah.
and I honestly think like of the two, like you have to, it's hard. So my favorite is Han because I just like the Star Wars movies more.
Sure.
Obviously, I love Star Wars. I've been actually me and my wife have been watching them with our 6-year-old son for the first time.
Nice. Is he
And
like
so
him?
we just watched Empire Strikes Back the other night, like just a few nights ago at the time of this recording. So just awesome to watch those with him
Yeah.
and like Han Solo will always have a special place in my heart. But objectively, I would say that Indiana Jones is more like important for Harrison Ford and more like I don't think anyone could do Han Solo like Harrison Ford, but like the weight of the movies is like fully reliant on Harrison Ford for the Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel pretty good, even though I don't get Han and Empire Strikes Back. I feel pretty good about having Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, just because it's like,
so strong.
yeah, both are strong picks, but yeah,
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways that performance specifically sets the tone for the rest of his career.
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah. He establishes his persona in that movie, you know, more so than his persona would have been established if he'd never had Indy and it was just Han. So,
yeah,
I mean, when I was just like, okay, in an ideal world, my one and two picks, it was Han and Empire and Indian Raiders. So
yeah, yeah.
you got a
Those were the picks. So we did it.
Yep.
We can be done now. We're done.
That's right. Yes.
No,
All right, well,
we got to keep going.
We got to keep moving because
Yeah.
I'm kind of I'm just super curious.
Where do
There
we
were-
go
there
now?
were- There were three big blind spots. I had more than three blind spots, but three that I knew I needed to fill. And one of them was The Fugitive. I'd never seen The Fugitive, and I knew about Tommy Lee Jones' Oscar-winning role.
Yeah.
You know, I knew that Harrison Ford didn't get an Oscar nomination or any sort of nomination for that one. So I didn't really know what to expect going in, other than just to buckle up for a good Tommy Lee Jones performance. And it's been a couple weeks since I've watched it, and Harrison Ford's performance has just lingered as just subtle. Have you seen it?
Yes. I love
Yeah,
it. It's
just-
great.
Dude, the persistence of his character mirrors the persistence of Tommy Lee Jones' character, which is what I think makes that duo so
Yes.
impactful.
Incredible
And,
chemistry.
So yeah, I'm going with Richard Kimball.
Man.
Dude, I loved it. It's whenever it's interesting, whenever you watch a movie, you have your initial reaction, and then you have the reaction that grows on you over the course of the next week or two.
Yeah.
And I've just been affected. I found that have increasingly found that performance very effective. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the culmination of a lot of like what's great about Indiana, like about Harrison Ford as an actor for sure. It's kind of like very reminiscent of his Indiana Jones, just without as much of like the action set pieces.
Yeah.
It's in a lot of ways, it's an action movie without really any action.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And it's a lot of the same beats and a lot of the same mannerisms and just kind of the same persona, but it's lacking almost all the levity of an Indiana
yeah,
Jones movie. So that just brings more gravity to his character.
yeah,
And yeah, it's not the first time that he proved that he can pull off gravity, but I love to see it in him.
yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, that's a great pick. That might have been my next pick. But now I don't have to decide because you took it. So
Yeah, there you go.
you've basically made my decision for me. I am gonna go with another sort of iconic role in I'll do this one. I'm gonna go with his portrayal of Deckard in Blade Runner. So
Jeez, that was gonna be my next.
I think so. Here's the thing about this movie, like, in the person that plays Deckard, has to have this like strange emotional detachment, because like obviously it's like, is he a android? Is he not? Sort of thing.
Yep.
And you have to have this like really weird emotional detachment, which honestly like is not something that I think is just like natural for Ford. If you think about like his portrayal of Han and his portrayal of Indiana Jones and like even like The Fugitive, it's very much the feeling of like a man in denial of his emotions, but like those emotions definitely all there simmering under the surface.
Yeah.
And him trying to hold them back. And so like to me, like this performance is really good because he's doing something different than like he typically is doing in his more iconic roles, where he has to just play like dead, like no emotion. And I think that's,
he's showing so much restraint by not, he's being like very un-Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And he pulls it off. It's great.
Yeah, it's good. All right, where are you going next?
Jeez. Okay. Well, that's the beauty of these, is like you kind of have to make audibles in real time.
Yep.
Let's see here. I knew, so in an ideal world, I would have taken Deckard as my third choice, but he took it. So I think I'm going to bump things around a little bit. And this is where I say I have to have an Indiana Jones. So I'm going to take Indy in the Crystal Skull.
Okay.
And now I know I'm going to have to sell listeners on this a little bit because of the Crystal Skull's reputation. But, we talked last week. Indy's in his early 60s at this point. Harrison Ford's in his early 60s at this point. So they're starting to play with the idea of him aging. And, the line, he had so many one-liners. I know one of the complaints of, that you hear about the Crystal Skull was, and particularly about Harrison's portrayal of Indiana Jones in that installment, is just like the one-liners are a little cheesy, a little forced. And every single one of them landed. And one of them was when, early on in the movie when Indy and Jim Broadbent's character are in Indy's office and they're just kind of talking about just the state of the country. And Indy says, it's been a hard couple of years. It's like, okay, that's pretty much that's kind of the hardest that he touches on the aging thing. It's like, you realize that he's starting to lose people. And it wasn't overdone, but he's starting to introduce that idea. So I found that really effective. And then I thought his comedic timing in the movie was great. There's a scene where, he's just pulled off some stunt in disarming, a villain, and Shia LaBeouf's character's like, "Are you a professor?" And he says, "Part-time." And
Yeah.
I just like I thought it was so funny. And then, all of this performance I think leads to the kind of climactic moment where they're in the throne room with all of the extraterrestrials or whatever you want to call them, and all the while throughout this entire franchise, Indiana Jones has been wrestling between like intellectualism
Yeah.
and just kind of my faith is in reality versus like faith in some sort of divine or transcendent power. And someone says, I think it's Kate Blanchett's character is like, why aren't you up here? Do you not believe? And he goes, "Oh, I believe. That's why I'm down here."
Yeah.
And I thought the line was delivered perfectly. Like it could come off to some as just again just like sort of a grouchy old man, one liner, but it landed on me as like a genuine profession of some form of faith and belief in the divine. And I thought it was much more nuanced than maybe it's given credit for. And I think the reason I take it as opposed to The Last Crusade is because it's a further culmination of Indiana's character.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a more full picture, robust, picture of that character than we get in The Last Crusade. So I'm going with Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good pick. I can't fault you at all for that. I would have went with my favorite indie movie.
Yeah.
If it wasn't Raiders, and because I love the chemistry between him and Sean Connery, in Last Crusade, but it's hard to fault you. Yeah. Good points made all around. Okay, this will be my third pick. I'm gonna go with a movie that I caught up with that was a blind spot. It's a very different role for him, and he just plays it really well, I think. And I'm gonna go with the Peter Weir's 1986 movie, The Mosquito Coast. Nice. His character is Ali Fox in that movie. Have you seen this one?
No, but I've heard incredibly good things and good things about his performance. So that was one that I just couldn't quite get to for this activity, but I'm sure you're dead on.
Yeah, so he plays this character who's fed up with America and basically up and takes his wife and 4 or 5 kids to the jungle in South America and buys a town and creates this gigantic ice machine in this town and is ranting about the end of civilization in America and basically drives his family into almost disaster. And it's a really incredible captivating performance. You're it's not exactly the same, but it's almost like watching Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems.
Oh, sure.
Is what I was reminded of. They're very different movies. Sure. So don't think that when you go into this movie, but just watching a character descend and just asking all along, dude, stop making these stop, dude, stop. Yeah. And it's the same thing with Adam Sandler and Uncut Gems, and it was kind of a similar thing here. And man, he's just really good in it. Cool. It's a great performance. So
cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Hello again. Do you know how you can really support the show for free in just a few minutes or less? That's right. Just leave a rating and review on Spotify and Apple, or wherever you listen that might allow for ratings and reviews. These really help the visibility of the podcast. In fact, just hit that pause button right now and drop the review right now. And then you can get back to the show. I'd greatly appreciate it. Okay. I trust that you went and left that rating and review now. Back to the show.
Well, that leads into my next one. I saw a Letterboxd review. I think it was maybe Sam Van Hallgren from Film Spotting.
Yeah.
Talking about my next pick, but he commented on, of all the directors, of all these legendary directors that Harrison Ford has worked with, it is perhaps Peter Weir that has pulled the most like gravitas out of Harrison Ford. It sounds like he successfully did that in Mosquito Coast, your pick, and he did that with my pick, which is Witness from 1985.
I already typed it into the doc before you even said it.
You knew it, dude. You knew
When
it.
you said Peter Weir.
Oh my gosh. He plays John Book, who follows kind of the sole witness. I think it's Baltimore. He's a cop in Baltimore, and he follows the lone witness who happens to be a little Amish boy of a murder back to this Amish boy's community to protect him, and winds up falling in love with this boy's mother.
Yeah.
And it is just, Harrison Ford's charm is on display. His boldness, his brashness is on display. He's a cop, like in a big city.
Yeah.
So you get all of that kind of persona. But what you also get that was just so unexpected is there's a there's a maturity and a level-headedness to him that comes through only as he and the boy's mother, played by Kelly McGillis, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, by Kelly McGillis. Once their feelings for each other become like somewhat well known, obvious and apparent to both of them, they both have to start showing some restraint for various reasons.
Yeah.
And it's just that feeling, that sense of like all of Harrison Ford's charm and charisma, it's not going to get an outlet.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to let themselves act on these feelings that they have for each other. So similar to your Blade Runner pick, in a way, it's like you see on display everything that we know about Harrison Ford, but then within the same performance, he's then going to have to restrain it.
Yeah.
And it's just great. It's great. It was his lone Oscar nominee. He didn't win for it.
Yeah. It was a good one. Yeah, I caught up with that one. That was one of my blind spots too. So
nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So it might have been my next pick. It's hard. Yeah. So I would say, yeah.
I know it's just like, I have too many blind spots left to fill to confidently say this, but it's like one of the handful of times where Indiana Jones, there you go, it's hard to separate the character from the actor, where Harrison Ford is given the opportunity to just show his acting chops.
Yeah.
Like, give me
No, I
everything
agree.
Give me everything you got. And that's not necessarily to the detriment of his career, because he's just effective enough in these iconic roles that his talent is apparent, but like, this isn't a franchise character.
Yeah.
It's an original character. Just, give it everything you got. And he just knocks it out of the park. It's amazing.
Yeah. No, it's really good. And even like, there's these like really sweet moments he has with the kid. That's like,
yeah, totally. To say nothing of those. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. He doesn't have a lot of that in his career. And so, he works really well across from that kid, who's given kind of a typical, like, not phenomenal kid acting, performance, but like, yeah.
Lucas Haas, he's gone on to, cool.
Okay. My next pick, I don't really know what to do with my last couple of picks. I mean, I think I know the direction I'm going to go if you don't take my other pick with your last one. But I I don't know. It's hard to know. At this point, I'm just picking ones I think are
Mm-hmm.
interesting performances because I don't know what people like.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to get me more votes. So,
Sure. You gotta go with
uh,
your heart.
yeah. So the first one I'm going to go with is um, his character Norman Spencer in What Lies Beneath.
Mm. I don't
Uh,
know. I'm not familiar with that one.
yeah. So this is a Robert Zemeckis film uh, where he's playing across from Michelle Pfeiffer. They're a
Okay.
married couple. It's kind of like a horror thriller a bit. There's a little bit of a ghost story going on. And it's hard to talk about the movie without spoiling some stuff. So I'm kind of hesitant to say too much,
Sure.
but I will say, and it might even be one of those things where like it becomes obvious at some point to keen watch viewers that Harrison Ford is a bit of a villain in this movie, and he doesn't really do that. I don't think in anything else I've seen him play. So I really liked that. It plays with the charm of Harrison Ford in an interesting, different way. The movie's fine as a whole. Like solid to me, solid like 6 out of 10, 3-star movie. Enjoyable. It's he's not like the main character. It's centered around Michelle Pfeiffer. But he's still he's the husband of her character. And so, really good performance. You get to see him use his like Harrison Ford charm in a different way with a different sort of character. So yeah, that I thought that was a fun one that I caught up with for this draft.
Nice. Cool. Yeah.
All right, it's your last pick.
All right, my last pick. I am going with this was one that I was eager to see. I kind of knew its reputation. Jack Trainer in Working Girl.
Man, you ruined my draft.
Oh no.
I should have
Dude.
picked that first.
Oh man, this was so funny because he gets to play the romantic, which is fun to see. I mean,
Yeah.
it's exactly what you'd expect from him as the romantic. He just turns on all the charm. It's great. But his comedic timing is kind of spot on in this
Yeah.
one. I think of, when they're kind of like playing hard. Melanie Griffith's character is playing hard to get with him a little bit, and as he's going onto an elevator and they're separating, and there's just the elevator doors are closing, so he has just a few seconds really to pull off
Yeah.
this retort, and yeah, exactly. He just pulls it off. It's perfect. It's so
Great.
funny.
Yeah. I laughed at that.
Yeah,
That was a great
it's
moment.
It's just hilarious. There's the scene where he's changing in his office,
Yeah.
and everyone's just like gawking at his
They
chiseled
start
body,
cheering.
and he just kind of like, yeah, just and he's talking on the phone the whole time.
Uh-huh.
He's like, I know. So it's just so funny. But one thing that stood out to me about this one is there's this weird running theme throughout some of his movies where he, like, within the movie he puts on a bit and like plays a character. So in The Last Crusade, he plays like the art critic that's trying to break into the German the castle where
Yeah.
the Germans have a footing. And so he puts on kind of the French style hat and pretends to be like a French art critic. So he's playing a bit. And in The Fugitive, even, it's much more serious. Again, all the levity is gone, but he dyes his hair black and pretends to be another person. And then in this, there's a scene at the wedding where he and Melanie Griffiths, they're attending a wedding that they were not invited to get a face-to-face conversation with the bride's husband that they're trying to lock in for like a deal.
Yeah.
That they're making in sort of a corporate setting. And they're changing clothes, getting into costume, whatever, getting into character in the women's bathroom, and the bride comes into the bathroom while they're there changing Harrison Ford's characters in the stall, and we know as the viewers that his cover is about to be blown. We don't know how aware he is that his cover is about to be blown.
Yeah.
So he barges out of the stall and is in some other character that he just put on in the stall. It's like he heard the bride come in. Again, the bride, they're posing as the bride's guests, but the bride doesn't know them. And he hears her come in, so he's clearly aware of the situation. And he just, spur of the moment, puts on a character, that just in an effort to completely disarm her and weasel his way out of this this scenario. So it's just this kind of running joke of his that I've seen now in a few of his movies where his character puts on a character, and it's just
That's
really
funny. Yeah.
It's really amusing. It's entertaining. I thought it was great. It was a side of him that I had not necessarily seen before.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a fun insight. I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, that's fun. That's a fun insight. What I loved about him in Working Girl was he's got the Harrison Ford charm, but it's got this like very innocent like aura around it, like this like well-intentioned innocent or like aura, like I don't know, and it's so different than how his charm typically feels. Like
For sure.
it's almost like the same charm as Indiana Jones, but used in the completely opposite way.
Totally.
Of like unassuming, like more humility in it, and like more care in it. And
he's sort of at the mercy of Melanie Griffith's
yeah.
affections.
Yeah.
Versus, in some of these other roles, he is moving his weight around and he's imposing his will. And there's just not really a lot of that here.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really like that. I'm regretting I should have picked It first and then What Lies Beneath.
Sure.
So I'm really like beating myself up right now.
I'm liking my list right now. I won't lie.
Yeah, it's a good list. I like your list a lot too. I like mine too.
I was gonna say I don't have Raiders Indy and I don't have Blade Runner. So
Yeah.
you can't really sleep on those.
There's a couple of directions I can go with this next pick, but I was gonna leave a Star Wars off the table, but since you took Working Girl, I'm gonna take him as Han Solo in The Force Awakens.
Oh, nice, dude.
I think it's an underrated performance.
I agree, man.
There's the whole part where like it's like Rey and them, they're like questioning the Force and all this stuff, and I should have written down like what he says exactly, but it's something to the effect of like it's all real. And it even like kind of like cross plays into in his Indiana Jones character.
Totally. Yeah.
And
nice
it's
interplay.
like this culmination of so much about his career and who he is, but like also makes perfect sense for this character who's seen so much and experienced so much magic and wonder and good triumphing over evil, and like bringing all of that in his old age to this role. It's really good. And a lot of the weight of the movie kind of hinges on that in a lot of ways, what he's bringing to it. So I would say he's more important to The Force Awakens in a lot of ways than even he is in Star Wars or Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. So, that was a great performance for sure. It's interesting like to see him revisit some of these iconic roles in his later career. Yeah. He revisits his role as Deckard in Blade Runner 2049. He obviously is revisited Indiana Jones a couple times now, and Han Solo in The Force Awakens, and none of them play like none of it feels obligatory. Like his presence does not feel obligatory, but feels significant in each of these, revisitings that he's had here lately in the last several years. I don't know what you think about that. Do you feel like all of these, outings where he's revisited these iconic roles, do they play well for you?
Yeah, I feel like he's able to jump back into those characters and tap into what made them iconic and powerful to begin with. And I think Dial of Destiny is a great example of that. But yeah, he's had a great career, like undeniable, incredible career. So
yeah, and a lot still for both of us to catch up on, it sounds like.
Yeah, still a lot more to catch up with for sure. Things we didn't mention. Obviously, American Graffiti is where he started.
Yeah.
Without American Graffiti, there's no Han Solo.
Yeah.
So
that's one that I would have. Have you seen that one?
I haven't.
No, I haven't either. That was one that I wanted to get to, but just couldn't quite manage to get to for this exercise.
Same. And then you have like the small roles in Apocalypse Now and The Conversation with Coppola. He's good in those. They're just small roles.
Yeah, for sure.
And I also caught up with Frantic, which is a Roman Polanski movie.
Yeah.
It was good. And he's really good in it. But yeah, I didn't feel like it was necessarily something I had to grab. So,
okay. That's maybe been the one, that I didn't get to that I really wanted to get to. But it sounds like I might bump it down below American Graffiti when I think of ones I need to catch up with first. So,
yeah, I mean, great career, really good draft. Let me pull it back up so I can read it back before we wrap up. So Jacob ended up with The Empire Strikes Back, The Fugitive, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Witness, and Working Girl. Great list. I ended up with Raiders of the Lost Ark, Blade Runner, The Mosquito Coast, What Lies Beneath, and Star Wars: The Force Awakens. So I'm happy with
pretty
that.
Strong as well.
Yeah. So we'll see what the people think.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, it's a little bit of a mind game that you play in the middle of these things. Like, just thinking, well, do I need Deckard on my list? Like, do I need to go 2049? I don't feel like his performance in 2049 is like substantial enough to demand that I take it over something like a Jack Trainer. But those are the things you think about as you go through these lists.
Yeah, Jack Trainer is the one that's gonna haunt me that I didn't take that first.
That was great. That one was a revelation for me.
But yeah, I'll definitely make sure to post a link to your creative efforts in the episode description with Lean Forward on Substack and the Conversation podcast.
Yeah, thanks.
If you want to hear a little bit more about the ideas behind those, go check out the beginning of the last episode. Jacob talks a little bit more about those there, but yeah, that's all we've got this week. Harrison Ford, great actor, right?
Yeah, that was awesome. That was great.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. I've been Eli Price. For Jacob Allen, you've been listening to The Establishing Shot. We'll see you next time.
We were happy here. For a little while.
But look, I figure it this way. Better to be king for a night than schmuck for a lifetime.